So we're discussing the elephant in the room. That's what does it really take to grow from startup to enterprise? This is a very crucial matter considering the times we're living in right now and what businesses are facing. The very challenging times. And of course, this is going to be a very, very quick session. And the first question goes to Mr. Kola Oyeneyin, even though you're in the middle, it's fine anyway. So we've seen a lot of companies, foreign companies exit with the current state of Nigeria's economy. But let's talk about the gaps and opportunities that exist in the midst of this when it comes to scaling up large-scale manufacturing operations and the like. So what are your thoughts regarding that?
I think first, let me speak to foreign investors exit in Nigeria. I think that's an important context to what we're speaking to here. And the reason why that is important is because a number of things happened in the last 3 to 5 years in Nigeria that led to exits. And I want to start with a short story that I think is important to maybe what we're here to talk about today in the short time that we have. That story is an important story that perhaps we can build on. A company raised about $45 million thereabout in 2020. And by 2024 or 2023 ending, folded off. So the question is, how do you raise $45 million and fold up in 3 years? Obviously, something happened in between. Eventually, I think I wrote a piece about this about a year ago on LinkedIn. We found out that the founder or co-founders were on an average of about $15,000 per annum in terms of salaries. Even some of us that code checks out for some of these businesses at not of $15,000 per annum in salaries. And so obviously burn rate was extremely high. Governance was extremely low. Before time, you could easily explain why that kind of money would disappear. I mean, if guys are flying about in private jets. So it wasn't accidental that, we saw a lot of companies that went under and then, of course, led to really bad uptick in the market and people left. Now, having said that, I do really believe that there are some fundamentally good businesses in Nigeria and in Africa. I've been fortunate enough to back a few of them, some of them still within our space. I've seen a business go from less than $5 million valuation to $3 billion today. Literally saw them in my space, Flutterwave, and seeing what they have become today. So if businesses are run well, I think that they have the potential to really grow and become successful. And that elements and frameworks that are important to making that happen. What sectors do I see opportunities in now, to your question, because that foundation is important for this conversation. Sectors that are extremely important, I think that the financial technology space is obviously an obvious one that we've been talking about, and it's still day one in terms of what's possible in this space, given how vast the opportunity is. You mentioned manufacturing. I think I won't say brick and mortar manufacturing, but how do we digitize and ensure that manufacturing is done in a way that is efficient, that can almost compete with what we see in China and the likes? I think that's what we need to start to think about at this point. There's one other one, but I think I'll load them up for now.
In today's volatile economic climate, what are the biggest risks and opportunities for attracting foreign direct investment into the African continent?
I think let me start with the opportunities first, and then come back to the risk. I think the biggest opportunity that we have right now is that Africa is sort of at almost one of the most attractive regions in the world in terms of what folks outside of the continent are looking at. But we have a real challenge with another region, which is the Middle East. The Middle East is possibly, and I think it was a real miss between now and maybe the earlier part of this decade, early 2020, 2021. If you saw what happened a month or 2 months ago when the president of the US went across 3 major countries, I don't know how many follow that news: Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia. Essentially kissing the ring across these 3 different areas. Now, that's a sitting US president making that move. And what was he doing? It was essentially mobilizing indirectly and directly capital into US for investment. And we saw the numbers. I think in total about $5 trillion in commitment in terms of investment. Now, what the US president did is what African presidents or leaders of trades should possibly have done maybe 4 or 5 years ago, because there was capital literally sitting on the table. I mean, we have conversations. So I run Opportunik Global Fund, where Mauritius based fund, obviously investing across Africa, across the world. And so we get to see transactions. So one of our partners is Emirates MBD, UAE based, one of the largest investment banking in the Middle East. And the CEO said something to me in February that I will never forget. He said, we have more capital to invest than we have opportunities for. And I just need you to find us opportunities in Africa. And that's a $5 billion sort of like investment fund that is telling you that that's directly from them as a bank. Then there are family offices across that entire region of the UAE, across the entire region of, I mean, US is not looking at us, the West is possibly looking, but the entire Middle East is looking at us. Now, what is missing? So the point I'm trying to make here is that money and capital is not the problem. The problem is there are viable opportunities that can attract the right capital. And do those opportunities exist? Yes, they do. What's stopping them? Risk. Now, let me come back to risk. There are 3 major risks for Africa. Number 1, and let me use Nigeria because we're in Nigeria. One is credibility risk. So people have seen headlines. They have seen what founders, and I'm sorry, I don't want to have a conversation that will fly over people's head. I was saying to my partner earlier on that I'm actually tired of talking at events. So if we cannot really be very honest, credibility risk is the number 1 challenge that most investors that will really cut real checks are having. And when I talk about real checks, I'm not talking about $1 million. I'm talking about serious investment, anything above 10 million and above. They have seen how we have behaved. We have behaved really badly. Lack of proper corporate governance. I mean, you cannot trust people, you know, that you vouch for, you take across the ocean to go and have conversation about investment for. So credibility risk is one of the major challenges. The second one is regulatory. People feel, I think now there's a semblance of, okay, we can bring capital in and we have a way of getting it out of Nigeria for the first time maybe in 10 years. So that again became a big issue, that I bring US into Nigeria, convert to Naira for investment, and I don't know what rate I'm going to get it out of. But that can even be solved, you know, between founders and board of companies and all. If we're able to resolve and solve credibility risk of founders in this room that have come for this conference and many other conferences, and that we show ourselves as being worthy of credit, because credibility risk also leads to credit risk, also leads to other C risk, character risk. Once you fail credibility risk, you almost fail credit risk, you almost fail character risk, and people don't want to back you on that.